Did you, by the chance, would you have happened to have watched the Super Bowl?
No,
Okay.
had no
I just,
interest.
one of my little pet peeves, I just want to say, maybe discuss for 5 minutes. But a friend of mine was commenting on the Book of Faces that great performances of, Star Spangled Banner or America the Beautiful, whatever it is, the uh,
Well, you had the national anthem.
well, yeah, the national anthem. They usually do some kind of also opener, and of course, obviously the halftime show. But the question that I always, I get a little upset because they mentioned great performances like Whitney Houston, last year Chris Stapleton's national anthem or whatever it was, just how great they were. And I call me the poo pooer, Mr. Negativity, but yes, those were great performances because they were pre-recorded. Um,
Well, yeah. I mean, you got to
it's
expect that.
very easy to make and do a perfect performance when you've worked on it all week in a studio and you can make it perfect. And all you have to do is pull a Milli Vanilli.
Right.
And of course it's going to be perfect. And I upset people when I say that, which go fuck yourself. It's the truth. Sorry. They're not performing live. Stop saying they're performing live. Now, saying that, at the Super Bowl, Usher, I always pay close attention. I can tell. I'm a musician and I do not care for Usher's music. I don't know a single song by Usher. I will, however, say that Usher did in fact sing while dancing. I could
Okay.
tell. Um, because this is going to drive probably you crazy later, but while he was singing, you could hear the into the mic that he had in his face.
Believe it or not, I couldn't.
So,
I could not hear you do that, but I know
okay.
you were doing the huffing.
Well, we've got better equipment than, NBC or CBS, whoever was broadcasting it. But
Yeah.
uh, I could tell that he was truly singing while dancing. So much respect to him. But also, it is not always up to the performer or even the broadcast company if they perform live. That is important to notice because sometimes ASCAP, are you familiar with ASCAP?
Yep.
ASCAP can and does dictate who can perform live. People don't always know that. It's not always up to the performer.
I didn't know that.
It
I
could
didn't, I
be,
didn't know the
yeah,
ASCAP had any control over that, and why would they?
it is a crazy situation, but I think it has to do with purchasing rights. So if I write a song and I own the rights, but I have to license through ASCAP, they can at any point say, no, you cannot perform that in a live broadcast
Uh,
unless you give me X amount of money,
See,
which is insane.
okay, so that's if the performer is not the writer.
No, no, they could
So
also be
so
the writer.
so I'm the performer. Let's say, for
Yes,
example, I'm totally independent, right? But I'm part of ASCAP only because I need to protect my music. But
correct,
I own the rights to it. I own the publishing.
correct,
I independently put this album out.
correct,
They could still tell me that I cannot, even though I would be negotiating with myself as far as the
correct.
monetary. That's fucking stupid.
And as far as I can tell so far, there is no formula. It is literally, flip a coin. ASCAP can be a fucking dick.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, I just assume, specifically when we're talking large sporting events like that, that they are going to be pre-recorded, and I assume that for production or for,
Correct.
not just for
It
production value, but for the ease
Correct.
of production,
People
not
don't always
necessarily because
understand.
that's what the performer wants to do.
Yeah, it also, it is much easier to do it all beforehand because of the logistics of miking everything,
And
the
camera
acoustics.
shots and
Yeah, camera shots, the
cues.
acoustics involved.
Yeah,
It's
cues.
just easier to play it over the air with the artist lip sync because there are audio issues that come up.
Yeah, right. And to me, you know, uh,
You, you don't want 123 million people going, "Oh man, did you hear that feedback or that missed audio?"
right. And that's kind of my point is like, to me, I just assume that when they're doing a large production, I mean, even when you're talking like Grammy performances and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And it has nothing to do with whether the artist can or cannot do that. It's more of an issue of technical production value.
Correct.
And I don't have a problem with that. I had never had a problem with Milli Vanilli doing that at their concerts. I didn't like it. I thought that it was a cheap way out, but I thought this is happening all the time and we just didn't pay attention.
The great sin of Milli Vanilli is that it wasn't even them that did the music. It was two other people.
That's the thing.
So they didn't even sing it.
Right. They were just marionettes out there for the
and even I think the musician's name is Her or something. It's a female guitar player. I've only seen her in the car insurance commercials or home insurance commercials playing, and she's very good. She too also performed live because I could hear her pick actually hitting the pickup
okay.
at first. So I was like, all right, which is a mistake. It's a bad sound. It's a clippy noise, which you would not get in a studio because you're calm and cool, but in front of
Millions,
a giant audience like that,
millions
you're
and
gonna
millions.
you're gonna
of
have
people.
a little whoopsie, which is the pick hitting the pickup. Easy to do. She still played perfectly.
Okay, so for
great.
those who don't know, you're not only are you a musician and a huge music fan, but you're also a huge football fan. Now, I am not a musician. Obviously, I'm a fan of music, but I am not a musician, and I could not give a flying fuck about football.
Football and hockey, those are my two big sports.
Yeah, and I get that. You know what I mean? Like, I get the people who enjoy it. It's just for me.
And pro wrestling.
Yeah, that's your big one. And I promise we will do an entire show where you can do nothing but talk about pro wrestling.
Have the millions and millions of people turning it off.
Oh, no, I'll just be the one sitting at the fucking board snoring. But I'm not a sports guy. And I know that there's a lot of people who are. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't begrudge people their fascination and their obsessions with sports. It's just not me. I got other things I'm interested in. And mainly, I think, is because I was a sports guy for a while. And I recognized specifically that I became I'm too emotional for sports. Like, if my team loses, my fucking day and maybe the next few days are just wrecked. I'm just miserable. You know what I mean? If
God damn it!
Oh God, are you kidding me? If I was, I mean, obviously I know the how it ended up, and if if I was a San Francisco fan, I would still just be crushed. I would be devastated by all this.
Well, with the Lions losing conference. It was a letdown. However,
you're used to that,
expecting them to lose.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, though. Is like
that good.
Yeah, I mean, we have been Lions fans our entire lives, and if there's one thing that the Lions do wonderfully, is they prepare you for disappointment. You know what I mean?
There's my saying, when I die, I want the Detroit Lions to be my pallbearers so they can let me down one last time. But they've been great. Nobody saw this season coming.
No, I'll give them that.
and they're going to be even better this coming year.
I agree with you. I think they will, but at no point, unlike everyone else who's a Lions fan, and again, I grew up in a house full of Lions fan. I was the oddball out.
What the only
I
thing that
mean, you,
made
mom, and
me
dad,
really angry.
mom, and dad, that was something that brought you together. Was football, whether that was U of M football, whether that was Lions football. Same with like you could, even though baseball's not your thing necessarily, you would still sit and watch a game with them. I would rather be tarred and feathered than have to watch an entire game of specifically baseball. Forget it. Like honestly, I'd rather take a line drive to the head and be put out of my misery.
I would rather stick an M80 up my butt and dangle my ass over a fire than to watch that.
But yeah, that's not very far from what I would be willing to agree to.
What would it take to get me to go to a ball game? It would take a wheelbarrow and a bottle of ether.
Yeah. I mean, even with one of my best friends, he has season tickets, or I don't know if he still does, but he did for years to the Tigers. He is a huge baseball fan. And so he had season tickets, all access, all the different special bars and cigar bars and all that. And, would invite me regularly because he didn't want to go alone because, it was a day game or whatever. And I had the schedule that was conducive at that time to being able to do that with him. And I would go once, maybe twice a year. And I was doing that because I was trying to be a good friend and hang out with my buddy in a different environment than just at his house or my house. And no, I can't do it. I can't do it.
The last time I went to a Lions game, I went with my buddy Drew, and the Lions did in fact lose, but it is forever etched into my memory. And we laugh about it afterwards because I have never seen a human being eat as much as he did. Oh my God.
Well, he could put shit down anyway. I mean, he could put
yes,
could put a crave case.
We went to Eastern Market, and the food because the package, I guess, that he got allowed for free food at Eastern Market.
Okay.
Like the big fancy setup. And I'm talking he ate like 2 omelets, like stuffed omelets, 3 steaks, 2 hamburgers, and then we went to the game. And he ate more at the game, and then we went back to Eastern Market, and he just he ate the
ticket
daily
value.
Yeah, but beyond that, I mean, somewhere there's a farm going, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what, though? I think that has to do with the mentality of some people, though, too, because I remember...
That could have fed a small country.
I was in Vegas with some friends of mine, and they're, they can put it away. And I remember one particular time, it was an all-you-can-eat buffet, and it was like they were creating a situation where they were breathing heavy, as like... and then another forkful, and then another forkful. Like, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
I tell you what. How about I just pay for this? I'll pay for your meal if you stop eating, because you're making me nervous.
You're making me sick.
It wasn't even sick. It was like you're making me uncomfortable because I can see that you're trying so desperately to justify what it is that you paid or are going to pay.
Just because it's $15 doesn't mean you have to eat 15 platefuls.
Oh, and that was the thing. And that's why, like, I don't even go to, Golden Corral or any of those buffets. I never do that. You know what I mean? And the reason is not because the food's good or bad. I mean, it's a buffet. It is what it is. And some buffets are better than others. But you are forced by the very nature of a buffet to sit there and watch people who are trying to monetize every bite. Like they're literally trying to monetize every bite. And until they get to the point where they feel like they won, I don't know what they fucking think they won, aside from, diabetes, heart disease, and
Oh, that plateful's gonna make a primo dump.
yeah. What are you winning on it? You're not winning. Their business model is set up to where they expect that most people will stop at a plate, maybe two. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're probably not going to eat everything on that second plate. They're probably not going to make it through a full dessert. You know what I mean? But then they know that for every 10 people that only eat a plate or a plate and a half or 2 plates, there's going to be one motherfucker every time that comes around and goes, oh, I can do this. I can hurt them. I'm going to hurt their bottom line. I'm going to put this buffet out of business. And we're forced to eat with this fucking elephant of a human being. No, thank you. No. Like I used to tease Dad.
Are you in training for competition eating? What's going on?
I used to tease Dad about that, right? Until I became a father. But you do, like, there's something along the way where it's like this in-between point where you have a child where it's like they're too big to eat off the kids' meal. You know what I mean? And they're starting to develop taste. And you find yourself in a position where it's like they want a steak because they want to be like you, or they want, lobster tail because they want to be like you. And it's true admiration from the child's point of view. But their eyes are bigger than their bellies, or they don't fully understand what it is that they're eating. And, they eat what they can eat. And then you got 3/4 of a plate of food that was, a $20 plate or $25 plate. And you don't want it to go to waste, and you don't want to take it home. So you push yourself as the father and just fucking eat it, right? And Dad was the king of that. Like, if you left a fucking French fry, he was going to scoop that shit up because that was money in his eye, Yep. And again, I get it. I get it from that point of view. But I see these people who are like going into a buffet like as a couple and having to literally lift their legs around their bellies to get to the fucking buffet, and they waddle their fat asses up there. And I mean, big corn-fed motherfuckers that like, dude, just put the fork down for a minute. Have a salad. And I'm not telling you how to live. I'm just saying you're a walking heart attack. You're like, I'm feeling chest pains watching you walk from the table to your to the fucking buffet, and you're literally next to the buffet.
I am one of those people that if I'm at a buffet, I don't get a salad. I'm going straight for that beef or pot roast or steak.
Yeah, because you're trying to get your money's worth rather than eating what it is you want necessarily. Like you're going to go for
I'll eat what I want. It's just the Golden Corral. I love their pot roast, so I'll get a plate full of pot roast. But chances are it'll be just that plate because I'm not an overeater. I hate overeating.
Oh, I fucking hate it. I hate the way you feel.
Feeling.
Yeah, like
I have straight up had anxiety attacks because I'm so full. So I try to not get to that point.
And the thing of it is that I look at this, and this statement will probably bring everything around to what we were where we were going with this. I watch these people at buffets, and again, I haven't been to a buffet in years, but when I was on the road traveling for work, sometimes the best that you can do in order to try to get something that's something that's not out of a window, you know what I mean? But also isn't going to cost you an arm and a leg. So you go spend $15-$20, you go to a buffet, and that would be it for the day for me. Like I go to the buffet, and I always would get the salad with it because I like a salad with my meal. I just do. So I was always going for what I would want not necessarily like, oh, I'm going to force myself to eat that, you know? And I would eat to the point where I felt like I was getting full. But in the beginning, it was like, oh, I'm going to do one meal today. And this is where I learned it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do one meal today, but I'm going to eat like a motherfucker. And then I'll go take a nap, and then I'll go back, and finish the day's work. And I couldn't do it. I got to the point where I was like, I did that 2 or 3 times, and I got myself so fucking sick that I was like, I don't even want to get back to work. I don't want to do anything. I just want to be in misery. Yeah, I want to be in the bathtub just in case things go seriously sideways. so I could just wash it down the drain. You know what I mean? I knew it was going to come out one end or the other, and I didn't give a shit which one it came out of, but I didn't want to have a cleanup afterwards. And that's the thing is like, I spent a lot of time working in casinos as an example. I spent a lot of time working in casinos, and part of the deal was that, as a temporary worker at the casino, I would get the free buffets. And I would, dude, I'm telling you, it's great to a degree, like you think, oh, all you can eat shrimp. Well, how could that be bad? Or all you can eat crab legs? How could that be bad? Or all you can eat breakfast? How could that? Let me tell you, it can be fucking bad. It can be really fucking bad. It can, and like I said, I would just be like, just give me a pillow and the bathtub. Because that's where I'm staying.
Yeah.
If it all goes sideways.
Can I get a waterproof pillowcase?
Yeah, exactly. Can I get something to wrap this motherfucker in? I'd take a fucking. Just give me a garbage bag. Just give me a garbage bag. I'll tie it off, and I'll use that as a fucking pillow. But again, what people don't seem to understand or realize or don't care about or can't control or whatever the case is that when you do that and when you approach it from that point of view, you're literally just eating yourself into the grave, right? And I get it. There's different reasons why people eat the way they eat, whether it's their financial situation, whether it's their, instead of shopping or drugs or alcohol, that's what they do, But here's my question, all right?
Eating addiction.
Yeah, eating addiction, and I got sympathy for all of it. I do. I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying it's tough.
I personally have a milk addiction.
Yeah, you're a little fucking nuts on the milk, and let me tell you, that's not good for the heart.
Well,
Drinking.
Luckily, I don't have one.
Well, what you do have is black and small.
It's like Gary Coleman. It's shriveled and black. Dead.
Oh, poor Gary. Poor Gary. All right, so before we kind of jump into it, I want to say thank you for Lagavulin 16. Not because they sent me any, but because I bought it, and it's what I'm drinking right now, and it's delicious. So thank you, Lagavulin. Yeah, you were the one that turned me on to that. And I'm usually an Irish drinker, so I'm a big Irish drinker. My go-to is Jameson Black Barrel. But I'm expanding my horizons because I did not like how Jameson just kind of did me wrong on my my one request from them. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it. Moving forward.
One request from them. Steve, yeah, you can't expect a company like Jameson just to back up a truck to your driveway.
Yeah, well, but that's why I'm upset. For as much Jameson Black Barrel as I have purchased in the last 10 years, now I'm moving on to Scotch. They did that to themselves. Oh, Scotch. Well, you're turning me on to it. And we do need to have a pod where we just talk about Scotches and whiskeys. Your knowledge of specifically Scotch has really been impressive to me. The second thing,
by the way, there is a person who has multiple podcasts. I won't mention his name. Very sorry, I dissed your your scotch that you're or bourbon rather that you were trying to sell.
Oh, really? What was the bourbon?
He had found in his closet a bottle of Rip Van Winkle 23
Okay.
and was just trying to sell it, to someone who would enjoy it. But I was like, yeah, I dissed the 23 because bourbon wise, anything over 18
Is
and
just
even some 18s is just too long.
yeah. You're trying too hard, and you're not doing anything for
I
the
did
taste.
I did have a good conversation with other fans of his talking about bourbon in the chat and like it was a long conversation, but he replied to me, the podcaster, and was at first perturbed that I dissed the bottle, but then he was like, "Oh crap! All right, you know what you're talking about."
Yeah,
I was
and
like,
then
"Yes,
yeah,
yes."
realize that you kind of had an idea. You weren't just pissing in the wind.
And I think he also appreciated that one. He dissed me a little bit. I didn't come back and insult him because that's not
That's
my
not your
MO.
style. No, that's not your style.
I was like, "Hey,
That's
sorry, I
my
didn't mean
style.
to."
That's my
Yeah,
style.
I actually apologize. I was like, "I'm just being honest."
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
part of the reason why I don't really engage in social media is my temperament. And at the end of it, it's like somebody might say something that pisses me off, and then I just react, and then I feel
Mhm.
bad for reacting. So I don't engage.
you know,
I really don't engage on social media hardly at all. And moving forward, it's less and less.
it's funny because I generally don't feel bad. Like if it's something is my fault, and I'm like that situation where I didn't flame him back, and he eased off, but it was my fault. I was just giving an opinion, wasn't really thinking, but gave an opinion on the bottle of bourbon. But uh, if I truly think, like I probably shouldn't have said that, I'll ease off. But um, if I'm asked an opinion and someone flames me, um, oh, I'm gonna come back,
Well,
and
see,
I
that's the
can.
thing. Yeah, and you enjoy the interaction though. Like I don't even enjoy the interaction on social media. Like
See,
I don't get
I'm
it.
enough of a troll that I will troll the trolls. Like I will go after people that I'm like, you're a dick,
Yeah,
and
if
now
somebody's being a real
I'm a
asshole.
shark.
Yeah. If somebody's being a real asshole for no reason, then they're just trolling to be assholes. And I see that, then I might engage, but typically I try to stay away from it. And the reason is it's a never-ending hole, in my opinion. You can continuously get nastier and nastier and nastier, and it doesn't improve my day. It does. Like I don't ever get to the point where I'm like, oh well, there I won. I showed him. No consequence to me. I always feel like there's a little bit of consequence to me.
See, that is the key to the better trolls is that if you go into it and like I will troll a troll, you got to have the mentality of I don't give a shit what this person thinks.
No, it's not even
Like
that I care
if
what they
they're
think.
if they get upset that I'm trolling them, cool. If they say something back and I actually think it's funny, be like, "Hey, that was pretty good, dude."
See, I just
I think
don't.
that's the difference with me is that if you flame me and it's funny, I'm gonna tell you that was awesome.
Yeah, well, but see, for me, it's more of a time suck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is.
And I would rather again, it's like sports. It's not that I'm criticizing. Everyone has their thing. It's just that's not how I want to spend my time. You know what I mean? So I end
Well,
up,
I usually hit them with the whole, I'm here all day. I don't have a job. I can do this all day long.
yeah,
I will outlast you.
right, right.
I am like that refrigerator from the 70s. I will outlive all of your family.
But
I am
again,
I
for
am
me,
ever present.
I find myself in a situation where I just I don't know. Maybe I just
How do you
don't
kill that which has no
exactly like exactly. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the thing is like I have other interests and other things I'd rather spend my time on. And if I came up against you, well, you're going to win because I'm not going to put near the amount of effort into it because I'm busy with other shit, you know. But I think that's where we're going. You know what I mean? I think in many ways we're going to a position societally where we're going to find ourselves with a lot more time on our hands. I mean, we've talked a little bit about AI and how AI is going to take over certain jobs. But what we haven't talked about is the two sides to that. So there is obviously the artificial intelligence side of it, but there's also the kind of nuts and bolts side of it. So there's the digital, which is the AI, but then the nuts and bolts side of it is robotics. And I find that the engineering of that to be more interesting and the application of that to be more interesting, even to a degree more so than AI is,
Really?
Oh yeah. And I'll tell you, it's because I remember seeing R2D2 and C3PO in the theater the very first time. I remember seeing the droids in Star Wars for the very first time. I was 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. And this entire world that prior to that, even as a kid, you would look and go, that's a person in a costume, or you'd go, that's, a cartoon or whatever. The level of reality that was brought with R2D2 and C3PO and all the droids that were in all of the Star Wars movies in the first, or in the Star Wars, which is now in Star Wars A New Hope, however you want to look at the timeline. I'm talking about from Star Wars to Empire Strikes Back to Return of the Jedi, that being presented on the big screen in the way it was in 70s, early 80s, it blew my mind. And it was, and always has been something that fascinated me. But there was also this idea of what would that mean? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What would they do? And it's one thing when you're talking about, being a co-pilot like R2D2 on a rebel fighter versus C3PO being a protocol droid and, speaking a bunch of languages.
Mm-hmm.
But then you saw these other droids. Like in, I believe it was, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it was Return of the Jedi, where they had the droids being taken into almost like recycling area. And you saw the one droid upside down get his foot stamped with a hot stamp, and you heard, like he was in pain or whatever. Like all those different things. And then you saw the bartenders.
That was Jabba's place.
That was at Jabba's. Yeah.
Which would have been Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Yep. So I was right. Okay. So I guess where I'm going with this is
that I'm a huge dork.
You're a bigger dork when it comes to Star Wars than I am. But I guess where I'm going with this is there's a lot of talk lately about extending life and how whether it's through robotics and surgery, whether it's through robotic care, whether it's through AI, even, and I guess this is kind of where I'm going to start the question, though I almost want you to hold your answer to the end on it. You can respond, but I want to have a fuller conversation before we make our definitives. So, and I think it was Nietzsche who kind of had this like question or loop, about life. And it was something to the effect, and don't quote me on this, I don't know shit about Nietzsche. I believe this is the case. And the question is kind of the thought experiment is if you could live forever, which in many ways is what they're talking about when they're talking about either uploading or downloading your consciousness into digital form. But you had, the restriction was that you were only living the life that you lived from birth to death. Everything exactly the same. You're really not able to affect it. But now you're digital, so everything that you as a human would have been able to forget is now easily retrievable through any type of search, right? So I don't know about you, but I have large chunks of my life where it's like I don't even fucking remember half the shit that went on. Specifically in my teenage years and childhood, I have, you and a number of friends that'll bring up stories and I'm like, I don't even remember that. It blows my mind. So part of me thinks that would be fucking amazing because I'd be able to remember all this stuff. But here's the catch. You can't just remember the good. You got to remember the bad with the good. And more importantly, you can't go beyond your last experience, and your last experience would have been death. So it would be just stopped. Your memory would be stopped just short of your death. So even though you had this wonderful thing where it's like all of your life experiences, all of your life's work, all of your life's knowledge, all of your the things that you've that made you could now be shared with children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren on down the line. But you're still experiencing it every time they experience it.
Oh, there would be stuff locked up.
Well, you'd have to. Yeah, you'd have to you'd have to have the ability to lock up certain things. But even if you're able to lock them up, I mean, you're still living within that confine. So
yes, but all of those experiences are what makes a person unique.
I
That makes their personality. So.
I don't disagree with that. But that's the question. Do you take death for whatever that is, whatever that may be, and it may be nothing. It may just be emptiness. It may be darkness. It might be exactly what you remember from the moment prior to you being born or conceived, which is nothing. You can't remember anything before being born.
Correct.
And you did all right. It didn't change anything. And maybe your entire existence doesn't really change anything except for the experiences of those that you've shared your life with. And then it all goes away. So that's choice one. Mm-hmm. Or choice two, you're digitally uploaded into the system, into the cloud. And eventually we get to the point where they can take that and now they can put it into a bipedal robot. And up until that point, you really don't have any new experiences because you're just a ghost in the machine. You might have recollection of the interactions. So let's say, for example, your great-great-grandchild sits down at the computer, logs in and, an avatar of you pops up and you're having this conversation. Yeah, that would go into your memory banks. So that's a new experience. Mm-hmm. Okay. But you're essentially just continuing the life that you've lived. Would you be down for that? Is that something that you think that you would want?
Me personally, yes.
Okay, tell me why.
I like experiences.
Well, death is an experience. Death is an experience too.
Yes.
So it's a matter of which experience
you would have experienced it, but then uploaded. I think my biggest fear of death isn't actually dying, but missing out on where humans are headed.
See, that's interesting because in some ways I would agree with you, but in other ways I think, you know what? Fuck people. I don't like any of them. You know what I mean? Like you're one of the few that I actually enjoy talking to. You know, and would I want that
That
that ability to continue? Absolutely. I'd love for that ability to continue after I physically, the shell of me. And that's the other thing is that it's not like you can go, well, yeah, you die. No, no, no. Your consciousness, whatever that is, you call it your soul, call it I don't even care what name you put to it, but that is captured digitally. And this fucking meat puppet that we're all walking around in, that's what goes away. But you don't get to have a division in that. You are making a choice. I can either take the path of death for whatever that path may lead me to, that it's led everyone prior to me to, or I can try this new experience and realize that it may be torturous. You could feel like you are trapped, you're jailed within the cloud. And incredibly lonely in that cloud until somebody logs in that wants to talk to you. Like it's
well, that's why the ultimate question for me becomes again, am I hit in the night 2000 and I'm just a voice in a fucking dashboard ripping into the driver? Or is it like Star Trek and I'm, on the holodeck? If it's more like the holodeck, sign me the fuck up.
See, I agree with you in that sense, but I also wonder.
Mhm.
Think about the most depressed you've ever been in your life. Multiply that times 1 billion because you're just a ghost in the machine waiting for somebody to log in to get you.
Oh, if I'm a ghost in the machine, I'm gonna. Oh,
But you see what I'm saying? Like it could be like almost. It would be like an eternal death until you were called up. Which may be the case anyway, because we might be living in a fucking simulation theory. So
yeah, we could be.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that you don't remember what happened before you were conceived. You don't remember what happened while you were in the womb. You don't remember, being born. You don't remember a lot of those things. And maybe your earliest memory is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, whatever that earliest memory is. But prior to that, none of that shit fucking registered, or you at least don't have recall to it. Now you are the ghost in the machine. You've been uploaded. You have memory of that now because you're able to access that easily. So now you got to go back to, do I honestly want to remember the moment of conception? Do I want to or birth?
Line in the Matrix where the dude asks Neo, when you eat something and it tastes like chicken, does it truly taste like chicken, or is it because the computer simulation can't figure it out?
Again,
basically?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that it creates a wealth of questions that are an interesting thought experiment. You know what I mean? And I think that it's something that, while it seems far off, that we'll be able to literally download our consciousness or our soul, again, whatever name you want to put to that, will be able to pull that electrical impulse that everyone has, that is their life, that is them, and be able to digitize that in a way where it prevents death. Maybe that's a long time off. Maybe that never comes.
Well, according to Ray Kurzweil, that should start happening around 2040.
And that wouldn't surprise me based on where we're currently
What's already happening. Yeah.
Yeah. And people don't even realize it. I don't think most people have a clue as to where the robotics industry, like I said, you can remove AI from the equation. Everyone's worried about AI taking their job. It's not really where you need to be worrying. Robotics taking your job, that's more likely. And if you put those two in combination, then it's definitive.
It's going to be the two in combination that's going to change the world as a whole.
This is my point. Exactly.
You can either be afraid of it, or you can accept it and try to make it so that humans have got some sort of role or universal income based on a computer avatar that's doing your job for you.
Well, again, this is my point. There's so many questions that come from it. All right. What we're seeing right now, and we're not seeing it as much in the United States, but this is going on in Japan like crazy and China like crazy, is this robotic evolution. I mean, they're using robots as not just companionship for elderly people because they have a large disproportionate amount of elderly people to younger people. They're using it not just, I mean, they've got companions, which essentially are just like pets that lay on their lap and respond. And, maybe it's a baby seal, maybe it's whatever, but it could be a cat, whatever the fuck they want to make it. It's picking up input from the elderly person, and that person becomes attached to that thing because they're getting positive feedback from it. They're using it. There's robots that they're using and I got to tell you, I really kind of look at this as the positive side of it. They're utilizing robots to help the elderly, not just with companionship, but I mean, they've got them that they can lift them out of a chair or out of
Yes.
bed and put them into a wheelchair and then wheel them around wherever they need to be wheeled around to.
I think also the idea of basically immortality is going to come from robotics in the sense of basically nanobots, which are already being invented. And nanobots will be able to be injected into the human body, rid cancers as they grow, which is the number one, I think, killer technically of
That and heart
humans, heart
and
conditions.
then diabetes.
That'll be easier to do with nanobots and even cancer. But also, Alzheimer's will soon be a thing of the past because nanobots will be able to take over that part of the brain and repair it.
I think that all of those technologies are definitively on the horizon. Now, how far down the horizon, I don't know. And I think that the natural kind of instinct is most people haven't had near life or near death experiences.
Well, no, you're right the first time.
Yeah, a lot of people have not had near life experiences. You can tell. Just go to any fucking Walmart. You can just see them all. Like, yeah, I'm almost alive. I'm almost participating in the world. Maybe I just have a Cheetos and a root beer, and I'm going to call it. But the idea of having a near-death experience, and that could be for any number of reasons. Maybe you had a health scare. Maybe you were in a vehicle, that you were in an accident. Whatever the case may be, you're in a plane. It's still a lot of turbulence. You freak out.
Well, first of all, just that last statement in an airplane, they already have robotics, little robots. Well, not little; they're human-sized. That in simulators they've performed perfectly. Flying, doing excavators, submarines, where they literally have memorized. Obviously, it's a computer. The flight flight manuals and have 100% track record. Things go wrong, the robot compensates. Things that humans cannot do. That is coming.
Yeah, I agree. But again, this gets to my point.
Mm-hmm.
We're worried about AI. And we're worried about when it becomes sentient and it thinks for itself or can reproduce itself. But we're not paying.
Already happened.
Well, maybe it has. I don't know.
2017, I do believe.
Well, again, focusing.
Sorry, I'm throwing this shit at you.
Yeah, you're throwing. Now I've got to wrap my head around the fact that that's already the case. And it may be, because I don't think that I don't under any circumstance think that it's going to be, you know, on cable news. Oh, guess what happened today? Our robot overlords have come to life and can think for themselves. Like, I don't see that happening ever. I think we find out when we find out, because it's no longer a secret that can be hidden. So
Well,
you might be right on
I
that.
believe that with AI and robotics, well, robotics with AI, because they're going to be hand in hand. What's needed to be done is to program into the main brain source, the AI itself, to protect human life. That's what you have to do.
Well, I think that
They do have
I think that would end
AIs
up
that,
happening regardless.
well, yes, but
I mean, we all
also
grew up with the Terminator, so
there's AIs. They've had issues with AIs hooked up to the internet because there are horrible people out there that just want to watch the world burn and gets AI to say and bullshit because they think it's funny.
oh yeah.
And that is the lowest common denominator of human beings. Um, so I think that is going to be an issue. But once you can figure that out, it'll be a good day.
Well, here's my thing. All right, I think there's a lot that excites me about robots. All right, and there's a lot that excites me about AI.
Yes.
What terrifies me is more leaning towards AI than it is towards robots, because AI will eventually become the brain that all the robots share in one form or another. Okay. But in the short term, what they're doing with surgeries, fucking
Yes.
amazing. I had a friend of mine had lung cancer. It was done, taken care of with, I think it was called the Da Vinci robot. Amazing. It went from this idea that the entire left side would have to be opened up, ribs broken, horrible experience, long recovery. That was one option if they couldn't get this particular robot couldn't perform the function that it needed. That was the backup. And that's what it used to be. But it worked out. And this horrific operation of having a left upper lobe removed, I was amazed at the recovery time. I was amazed at the precision. I was amazed at, was it still a brutal fucking operation? Yeah, but it wasn't 7 ribs broken, 5 ribs cracked, to be able to get a human hand in there and do it. It was amazing. So you got you've got how it's being utilized in medicine. Phenomenal. Huge advances being made, right? Then you've got, like I said, go ahead.
The other day, I was laying down and, scratched, just kind of underneath my armpit. And as my finger grazed down, I was like, oh, I have a lump on my side. That's not good. That's really weird. Oh no, that's my rib.
Aren't you glad you didn't make a doctor's appointment for that?
Oh my God, I have a weird lump. Oh no, I think maybe I just lost enough weight that I can feel my rib.
It's weird when you lose weight, isn't it? Suddenly you're like, is that a bone or a tumor? But again,
why we need AI to save us.
Yeah, exactly.
Because a robot would have been like, you moron, that's your rib.
Well, think about this, though. All right. So as they move these robots more into caregivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've got robots apparently now that like an in-house type situation. Like I said, lift you up out of bed, help you out of bed into a wheelchair, or help you stand up, or if you fall, they help you back up. If they need to, like they're able to take, monitor your temperature, monitor your vitals off of, maybe a smartwatch or whatever. They'll be able to pick up so many different things that were potential signs that maybe the person, using dad as an example. If dad didn't feel right about something, he'd be like, I'll be fine. If it continues another 2-3 days, maybe I'll talk to a doctor about it. But that might be a symptom that the robot picks up and goes, no, you need to go to the fucking hospital now. It might be the difference between life and death. You know what I mean?
No, 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 no. You see, you got it wrong immediately. It would say, no, that is something wrong. I've already alerted your doctor.
Well, yeah, exactly. You're right.
They'll be here in 20 minutes on video.
Exactly. And then on the chest, the screen would pop up and you'd be having a telemed with your doctor looking at the screen on the chest of your robot. And, the doctor would simply tell the robot what to check for. That in and of itself, even if it's small, you know what I mean? Even if it was not your doctor, it was just an AI doctor that was activated through your home care robot. And it's not even like you have to be in a position to be able to purchase those things. Let's say that they're, $60, $70, $100,000 a piece. Well, then you just do it as a lease and everyone's making money. You know what I mean? Insurance covers part of it. You cover part of it. And then the manufacturer makes a fuck ton gathering all this information and creating a longer life. Even if it's just weeks longer. You know what I mean? But this idea of, and mind you, I'm hesitant with a lot of technology. Okay. I don't need my refrigerator hooked up to Wi-Fi. I don't need.
Be technophobic.
No, it's not even that I'm technophobic. Okay. What my phobia is, and I find this even, I'll be honest with you.
Don't get the chocolate milk. Yeah, it's going to go right to your thighs. You've already had.
Well, they actually, this country could fucking use that. But it's not the fact that my fridge would tell me, hey, fat ass, you don't need that, right? Or any of that. My concern is what happens to that information. So if that information is then purchased by my health insurance company and they know that I'm buying, foods that are not within what they consider healthy foods, now they get to either up my premium or contact me and tell me if I don't change my ways, and it's all because my fucking fridge tattletailed on me. Fuck you. Guess what's getting unplugged tomorrow?
Doc, help me. I don't know what my toaster's saying to my fridge.
Exactly. Exactly, right?
They're talking about me behind my back.
I know there's something wrong. I think they're plotting against me.
I heard my fridge talking to my toilet.
But you get where I'm coming from. Like, I don't care if my fridge makes, does an inventory, tells me what's good, tells me what's bad, tells me what I can cook with what I have in there, and gives me 3 or 4 different recipes, and then does the, puts together a shopping list based on my preferences. Fine.
Steve, I've got a problem. I went to go take a shower in my shower. I swear I heard it laugh. It told me I needed 2 towels to cover my fat ass.
But that's where I do get concerned is where does the information go? That's where I think that there's a problem. So even with a robot, even if it's under the best circumstances, the idea that there's this now absolute lack of privacy on personal things, I think that could be a problem. And that's something that they would have to legislate and figure out. But there's so many good things, so many cool things that they're doing, you know what I mean, when it comes to that. Like I said, what they're doing with the elderly alone is amazing.
I think it's cute that you think that they could legislate something like that. They can't, look at how far back legislation is on shit.
Yeah. Well, again, by that point, I'm looking at President AI. I think that
I
at
kind of
some
would hope
point,
for something like that.
well, I think at some point, uh, when you get AI tuned in, all right, and they figured out how to use it beneficially for whatever job. So that would go for, Congress as well as anyone else, and maybe even more so for government, is okay, we'll put it instead of, sending it to the budget office to see what it's going to cost. You plug all the information into your AI system, and along with budgetary figures coming out and what the actual cost of a program would be, it tells you also what the potential effects of that program will be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that will end up happening. So I think, there will come a time where, they literally just plug in the information into an
Boop, boop,
AI.
boop, 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 boop. Actual sound.
That's the sound that AI
Yeah.
makes when you plug in.
I don't trust any computer that doesn't go beep boop 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 when I'm doing stuff.
I got to tell you, I think I agree with you on that. Which is why I'm going to have a talk with my MacBook Air here after we get done. It doesn't make those sounds.
Take it back.
What I think will end up happening is that there will be the ability to digest this information in a way that is so different that if government doesn't use it, it's to their disadvantage, And I think when it comes down to like hard numbers and well, AI has projected that the outcome of this program that we're wanting to fund is 97% for good, or 97% for bad, or whatever the case may be, or it'll affect this many people in this way, but it'll affect this many people in not such a great way. That's when we're going to see government actually function better, is when it's like, well, no, we've run the models. It is what it is. And we've built enough trust within AI and within this particular AI that we know historically it's 99.9% correct. So we can argue about whether we like that or not. You know what I mean? So let's say, for example, they put I don't want to use abortion because that's the hot topic or whatever. But let's say it's another hot topic, but one that's not legislatively been gutted by Supreme Court, but potentially could be gay marriage, right? So you put in all the stats on whether or not gay marriage should be good or bad, morals, plug in all that shit. And at the end, AI goes, no, this is a net plus benefit for society. And it gives a full explanation why, 72-page report, very crisp, concise, to the point, direct, graphs included. It's pretty hard to argue against that then. Or you need to at least find the hole within the program to fight against that. So
I would say
I have
that
faith in that.
If you had a supercomputer, which could help with legislation, I would have to say that I would be against programming any religious text into its moral compass.
Well, I think that's
Because
something
there
that
are,
we need to explore is what morals, or what morality is. Because I tend to fall back to Hitchens on this one. You're
yes.
telling me that all those Jews made it 40 years and wouldn't have made it had it not been for, the 10 Commandments? Well, they made it before then without the 10 Commandments. And with or without it, They still weren't killing each other just to kill each other. They weren't raping each other just to rape each other. I mean, there was always reasoning behind it, even if it was stupid reasoning. And if you look at the Ten
Mhm.
Commandments, most of it is, God doesn't want his feelings hurt. you know what I mean?
The Ten Commandments before it was known as the Ten Commandments, and before some fictional Moses was also known as Mises, um, came down from the mountain, which I always think of Mel Brooks. I have these 15
15.
Ten Commandments.
I love that.
Um,
I love that.
they were Byzantine societal rules that
Well, see, again,
biblical overlords decided to add some religious ideation into them.
I don't even know if it was that they decided to do that as much as it was these were stories. These were myths. These were we have to justify how this fits into the storyline, and you don't need a Scott.
We have point A and point C. We have to come up with point B to tie it all together.
Lenny Bruce used to do this bit where he was talking about societal rules and morality, right? And he's like, if you have a group of people living together and they all say, okay, we're going to eat here, we're going to sleep here, and we're going to shit here. And one guy decides that he's going to shit where everyone's sleeping. And they go, dude, you can't, no, you eat here, you sleep here, you don't shit here, you sleep here, you shit over there. And the next day, he shits where everyone's eating. And they go, wait a minute, how hard is this? Right? He goes, it's not that hard. I know, eat here, sleep there, shit there. Well, you keep shitting where you're not supposed to shit. And that day, the first cop was invented. So that's the gist of it. I'm sure I'm fucking up the joke and not doing it justice, but that was the gist of it. That's
put your hands up along with your pants, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need God to tell you if I'm eating here, I shouldn't shit here, and if I'm shitting here, I shouldn't sleep where I shit, and you know what I mean, like those simple things. And then it becomes, wait a minute, where's Maud? And you look over at Charlie, and Charlie's like, oh no, I killed Maud. Well, what'd you do that for? Well, she's fucking you, and I wanted to fuck her, and she said no, so I thought, well, that's got to be it for Maud. Well, that guy didn't go, well, I guess that's it for Maud.
Oh, well.
You know what I mean? That happens 2 or 3 times, and next thing you know, everyone's around the campfire going, you know what? Maybe Charlie's got to go because, he's taking out Maud, Phyllis, Marjorie, and Greta. This isn't working out. That's not morality. That's survival. That's like that's realizing, okay, just because you want to fuck your neighbor's wife doesn't mean you get to fuck your neighbor's wife. And just because you feel like killing somebody doesn't mean that you get to kill somebody. These are simple rules to live by that don't need a sky daddy.
Yeah, if a sky daddy is what's guiding you as to not to murder someone,
you got bigger problems.
That's not called morality. That's straight up, hey, doesn't take a genius to know that you shouldn't be murdering.
Yeah, I mean, it does. I don't think it does. And they go, well, and again, this is something that we would really need to spend a little time on in order to do justice to. But the long and short of it is, you don't need all of that facade for the reality to be the reality. You don't need the show. You know what I mean? Like
at the same time, if there's a invisible sky daddy and he is what's keeping you in line. That's not morality or potential morality or whatever you want to call it. Maybe you're just a shitty human being.
Well, again, I've had this conversation with a number of people when talking about drugs, and I am, whether it's drugs or prostitution, any number of things that are illegal, right? And I'm the person who goes, so long as everyone who is involved in it is an adult and is making their own decision, and in the end, it doesn't hurt anyone other than the people who are participating. So, as an example, if I'm a drug addict or whatever, I'm a drug addict, right? And my drug of choice is illegal. And I go to my dealer. It doesn't hurt my dealer if I OD. It may hurt my family, but it only hurts them emotionally or financially, okay? It doesn't cause any physical harm to them. So if I OD, that's on me. And I should be allowed to OD if I want to, because if I've learned anything, every single time a prohibition is put in place for something that's basically a consensual crime, the prohibition becomes the problem, not the actual act or quote unquote crime. And we learned that with prohibition of alcohol. It did nothing but create gangsters and NASCAR. Yeah. That's what came out of prohibition. Gangsters and NASCAR. So my question is now, here it is all these years later, the prohibition has changed, and so is the wording a little bit. So they used to be gangsters when they were white. Now the gangstas, because they're black, what will they bring? What automotive sport?
If
are we going to have
gangsters and particularly NASCAR came out of prohibition of alcohol, what would prohibition of porn? What kind of sport would pop out of that?
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's the ball pit. That's fucking naked wrestling in a ball pit. And the balls are covered in oil.
Just wondering.
But again, that's kind of what I get to is that I think that there are certain things that we make decisions on based on what we think is logic, but really is emotion or fear or religion and the list goes on and on.
If they make pornography illegal, are people going to get busted for drawing boobs?
Oh God, yeah. Why not? I mean, we've seen, and that's the thing is we talked about this before. There's a lot of people that are pushing for pornography to be illegal. But let's take it away from that, okay? And let's change it back to the robotics, because not only are it's one thing. We started off by me kind of using the example of what got me fascinated with robotics, which was R2D2 and C3PO. Now we as adults know that there were two adults in those costumes controlling most of that, okay? But yes, it sparked the imagination, just like communicators on Star Trek ended up being cell phones today, okay?
In Star Trek The Next Generation, they had pads where they would get reports and run machinery, and now we have tablets.
Yeah, so there's a lot to be said about where science fiction starts and where it ends with reality in some form or fashion. I remember, like when as a kid thinking, and I don't know if these existed before Star Trek or not, but like they used to have the rubber mat that you would stand on because it wasn't a sensor. So like when a door was an automatic door, you had to actually step on a plastic rubber mat.
Yeah, I remember those.
And then it would open. So it was very mechanical, in that sense. I remember like going, oh my God, this is just like Star Trek. At 4 or 5 years old, I remember thinking, this is like Star Trek. So let's take that the next step, right? You have all the care bots, you have all the, and not all robots are going to, they're not all going to look like what you would think as a robot. It's not going to be like an R2D2 or even bipedal like C3PO. Some of it is just arms like you see in manufacturing. Some of it is attached to huge equipment for doing, let's say, for example, forestry. Let's say doing repairs on high lines, power wires and stuff. So like they're utilizing it in ways where like the actual robot, it's still a robot. They're using it in construction. So it just might be something that is, got the ability with 2 claws to pick up and put together massive cement pipes, but is doing it quicker and more accurately and with more care than humans could do it. I'm all for all of that. And I think that that's amazing. Yep. So the next thing is, and we've already seen this, okay? Nothing drives technology as fast as pornography.
This is true.
So at the end of the day, all we want to do is bust a nut. That's it.
The leader in robotics and AI, which is in, I do believe, China, is technically they make sex toys.
Yeah. And that's the thing is we've already seen that even without the technology with like Real Doll. But now Real Doll is incorporating artificial intelligence and some levels of robotic technology. It won't be long. I mean, like the even the skin tones, even how they're building the artificial face that slips on to these things is very lifelike. Not 100% yet.
No.
But like amazing. Absolutely amazing. And definitively, like when you look at some of the Real Dolls, I'm not going to lie, some of them look pretty fucking real. And I don't know what they feel like. I don't know, I'm sure that, there's aspects that are very artificial to it because they're not a human. They don't have the warmth. They don't have, blood pumping through veins and the ability to communicate with you in a way that is realistic yet. But how far off are we from that? And then
I think every day we are going to get closer and closer to the supercomputer, the quantum computer, if you will. And AI, if you think about it, every day there's an advancement, a huge advancement. It's tripling, quadrupling every day. And there will come, it's going to be sooner rather than later when they can take an AI and create a quantum computer that will be able to then, excuse me, supercomputer, can you devise a formula for a nanobot that will take care of cancer? Only trust it if it makes that noise. And we will have that technology.
Well, again, I think that that's the case, but then it becomes like I said, when you're talking about, there are currently, I forget what the number, I think it's in China, like it's 3/4 population men and 1/4 population women. And a lot of that has to do with the one child policy that they had there for a long time. And now it's biting them in the ass. And, there's very, very much concerned about societal collapse. You see that in Japan. They're worried about societal collapse because of the, large amount of elderly versus a very, very small population of working age people in comparison. So you do see these things, right? And in one hand, you go, well, all these people, if they can have, even if it's with a robot, if they can have that
some kind of companionship,
that seems healthier than being left alone. And then you
And
think,
I think it's also important for people to realize some of the things that are happening right now. Um, Positives outside of, obviously the companionship. I mean, they have AI that is deciphering animal communication.
yeah, not, but again, this isn't. I don't want to get too spun out on AI.
I hear it. I
I
hear it.
bring I on this
I think
particular.
the problem that I think is AI and robotics are going to be hand in hand.
They are, but
So
they're right now they're still on different paths. They're just starting to shake hands, and soon, high fives maybe and fist bumps and
you have prosthetics that are robotics that anticipate what the user is doing. Have you
amazing.
seen that?
Yeah, it's fucking amazing.
Yep.
Like I said, this is what gets me is like we can all have our heads blown about the potential of AI. But what we're not having our heads blown up by is the reality of the computer sciences involved in robotics right now. Robotic science is the only in many ways the only thing that's really left for it is fine tuning little, like getting better at the bipedal. And
Yeah.
I don't even know why that's such a big deal, but apparently in robotics, having that bipedal humanoid experience is very, very important. I don't know that it's that important, you know what I mean? But like getting them to be able to walk better, they've got them to where if they fall down, they can, get back up on their own.
I would be
And
fine
these
with a
were
Johnny
huge.
Five
What's that?
that has little. I'd be fine with a Johnny Five that has tank tracks.
Yeah, same here.
You got upstairs.
Five alive, man.
Yeah.
The real finishing touch though is going to be
Your car breaks down. You jump on his back. Take me to work, Johnny.
yeah. Again, well, then it becomes a situation of, did you see that son of a bitch riding his Johnny Five? We need to report him. Get a picture of him. We're going to put him on Facebook and shame him. He needs to be canceled because he's riding a robot and robots have rights. And that I'm sure will come too, is robotic rights, AI rights. Like every step forward opens up a new Pandora's box of bullshit. So on the one hand, I look at like Real Doll as the forefront of what might become sexual robots. And I know that there's going to be people out there that freak out about that. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day,
there will always be a group of people that will freak out. It's the same idea as aliens landing being a more powerful, smarter race than humans because humans will have to understand I'm not the end all be all. I'm going to be outraged.
yeah, and that I agree with you on that. It's an insecurity thing, but there's also the idea of well, prior to being sentient,
Mhm.
whether a robot or whether AI in general, do they have any rights? Are there robot rights?
There should be.
But why? It's
Why not?
machinery. Do you
It's what?
does your car have any rights?
It's not sentient.
No, I'm saying prior to being sentient.
Prior. No.
Okay. And then what are we using as the definitive to go, sentient, here's your rights?
Well, I'm sure there is a.
And I will preface this by saying we have women in half this country that lost rights. And we're even contemplating talking robot rights. On that note, we're going to do a quick announcement. Sweetwater, specifically Chris Smith, is the man. If you need
Oh,
any
yes.
gear, I mean, this dude has hooked us up. If you need any gear, whether it's music gear, recording gear, whether it's, I don't give a damn what it is. They got video cameras. If you're doing a podcast, if you're doing production level, if it doesn't matter what it is, if Sweetwater and Chris Smith can't get it, you don't fucking need it. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't be with us today. I'm pulling a Jimmy Kimmel, and he's my Matt Damon.
Do they have
Unfortunately,
robots that'll help jerk me off?
oh yeah, they're gonna have robots that'll help jerk you off.
You sing me a song while doing it.
Oh yeah, they'll do anything you want. Fucking sing you every national anthem.
My house robot is jerking me off and making me a sandwich.
Well, see, that's the thing is I think it will actually be different robots. Eventually, it'll be one robot, okay? But I envision you're going to have, instead of having, like, going out and buying, a microwave and a, blender and a toaster and all that, you'll end up buying an AI, or not an AI, but a robotic chef system or a robotic kitchen system. And that kitchen system,
a Star Trek replicator.
well, I think that's eventually coming. I think that's a long way off. But I do think that eventually that they will figure out how to replicate everything and basically 3D print it. But in the short term, I think it would, based on what I've seen on robotics that are currently available, I think you'll end up being able to equip. It'll fall under the guise of a smart kitchen. So like you've already got your smart fridge, you've already got, I'm sure a smart toaster, whatever. Right? It just seems stupid to me. But
in 20 years, I'll be in my kitchen yelling at my smart kitchen. Damn it, I said a pizza, not a salad.
Yeah.
I know it's better for me, but I want the pizza.
Yeah, essentially. But the way I see it, it will be, because we are creatures of habitual comfort, we'll add what we have to add and get used to it, but we still want what we had. So I think what you'll see is countertops that have pop-up robotic arms that, like on either side of your kitchen sink. You know what I mean? You'll have a robotic arm that comes in, grabs you by the throat, and chokes you out, and you die in your sink. No, you'll have like robotic arms that do the dishes, maybe load the dishwasher for you, put the dishes away for you. We'll be able to create meals for you. And it will be a series of different arms and different attachments to do different things.
And if you're late, it'll get upset and lock you out of the house.
Yeah. Weren't you? I saw you looking at that bipedal robot, and here I am stuck in the counter.
Again, the toaster is talking to the microwave. Plotting against me.
Yeah, the fucking coffee maker's talking shit all the time. But I do think that
sounds really wired.
The end result benefits us. You know what I mean? But before we finish up, I want to pause for a second. And again, thank Chris Smith and Sweetwater. If you get a chance, go to sweetwater.com. And who knows? Maybe they have, I don't know. Sooner or later, they're going to have something robotic, I would assume. Because with all the technology they have there, it's just ridiculous. And it's all good prices, and they always fucking deliver like what they say they will, when they will. Honest to God, again, I know I sound like I'm sucking up to Sweetwater. They're not even a sponsor. I want to make it clear. They're not even a sponsor. They're just the place that I use. And Chris is my guy there. Tell him that Steve
We're just speaking from experience with them.
Yeah, and if you call up and you talk to Chris, or you email Chris Smith over at sweetwater.com, tell him that Steve from Elsie's Little Pickle sent you. Again, we're not getting anything out of that. And we do need to talk to Chris about that. So eventually I do want to get him on the show, even though I was teasing about, we didn't have time for him. At some point, I do want to get him on the show, not because he'll be able to answer, because he's just a working guy, man. He's just a sales guy there, but he's a fucking amazing sales guy. But I want to see if we can maybe get him to put the pressure on the bosses, because we continuously promote them. We keep promoting them. And, I'm not saying you got to send me a bunch of shit, but maybe let me try it. A little shit every once in a while.
Product testing.
Just a product test. We'll talk about the product online. So I guess at the end of it, there's a lot of positive stuff that isn't being talked about in robotics. But like anything else, any technology can be used for good or for bad. So as the technology grows, I guess it gets to this point where you do have sex bots. Now, personally, myself, I don't know if I could be down with that. Okay? I need human interaction.
You need to be cuddled.
I need them to hold the baby. But I don't even know how to necessarily put this. I have to imagine that as the technologies, whether it's the creation of like I said, you look at a real doll and from a distance, shit, it looks fucking real. Mm-hmm. and arguably, again, from a distance, and I'm using my view, attractive. Now, when you've got an entire country fighting, let's say 66% of the country fighting for 33% of the female population, there's not going to be as many winners as there are losers.
Well, you know how you solve that. Move.
Yeah. Well, you're
Just
right.
Saying.
You're absolutely right. But that's not necessarily an option for everyone for any number of reasons. So let's think about that from that point of view of, okay, now they've got...
There's part of me that doesn't accept that answer. I can't afford to move. Bullshit.
Oh, I'm not even saying afford. I mean, for some people, it's just not an option because they don't have the courage. You know what I mean? They don't.
That's a man-made feeling, but being able to afford to move. I can't move. I don't have anything. Well, then you have nothing to move. Just move.
Again, I'm not arguing that point, but for the sake of the argument, let's say it is a legit reason that they, let's say, for example, they're very family orientated and they under no circumstance can get their family to move, whether that's their immediate family or extended family, whatever the case may be, right? They can't move. And now they're in a circumstance where they are lonely and they buy, the technology has gotten to the point where you essentially are buying a female companion, right? Even if under the most innocent circumstances, you buy the robot because the robot can do things for you, whether it's maintaining the house or whatever, right? And it has nothing to do with even sex.
The smart, sexy, lazy boy chair. You can just sit in it, hit a little button, boop, beep, boop, 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 and it makes you a frozen burrito and a blowjob.
Yeah. Frozen burrito.
Hopefully not at the same time.
No, that's not. That's not a combination.
I mean,
that is not on the...
No,
I don't think that is on the Taco Bell.
And you hope that the chair can read that you're choking and slap you in the back.
I don't think that's on the Taco Bell value meal. Burrito and a blowjob. I'll take a number 3. But at some point where the manufacturing and the technology that's involved in it creates a very, very lifelike, although you do recognize it's not human, companion. I think that is
I don't
healthy.
think you need really lifelike, because afterwards you're gonna, expect it to nag at you.
Ah,
Go take out the garbage. Go
no,
paint the
that's the
house.
beauty is
Go
you're
do the
programmed.
dishes.
No, you program it. You program it. It does what you tell it to do. And if you say don't give me any lip, guess what? See, that's where it gets dangerous, though. That's where I think it gets dangerous. I think the idea of a large population of men without female influences is dangerous.
Yeah, it becomes misogynistic.
No, I think that men go crazy in congregation. I do. I think that when you put a bunch of men
Aren't we
together,
all a little crazy?
well, we are all a little bit crazy. But I think when you put a bunch of horny, disgruntled, disappointed, frustrated men into a group, you're asking for
Evangelicals. So what you're saying is evangelicals.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, as a matter
That's
of
right.
fact,
I went there.
I didn't realize that there was a term for it, but now that you've put a term to it, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. But I do think that the idea of companionship in whatever form, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be female. It could be whatever form. It could just be a robot that looks like R2D2. All right. But if it has the ability for you to interact with it in a human way, I think that that's healthy. I think that it can help speak to your better angels rather than your worst devils. Then the question becomes,
On the other hand, there are people like me that I'm looking to move away from humans.
well, yeah. Well, what about that? Exactly. You still want to have some interaction. You want to have communication. You want to have,
Maybe some communication, but I keep telling people when I do move, when I find the right piece of property, no one's going to know where it's at unless I want them to know.
and it's all well and good, but you'll still interact with people. Even if it's
When
just
I
going,
want.
even if it's just going into town for supplies, you get to town.
Until Amazon Fresh comes.
Right. Well, but then Amazon, knows that you're where you are.
Yeah, that's all right. They bring me shit.
Yeah. But at what point does that become automated too? You know what I mean? I think that's very close to
You
being.
can already do that.
I think it's very close to being automated.
No, you can do that. You can schedule deliveries of whatever you want to pick. When I worked for that company in Texas, Amazon. Are you familiar with Fresh?
No, I'm guessing that's all the grocery stuff.
Grocery stuff. Yeah, it'll be on your doorstep in 45 minutes from completion of your order.
Which again, I think is amazing. All right.
Yeah.
But there's a couple steps here that I think we have to cover before we, wrap it up. And the first step is when do robots get their own rights? Because I think as soon as you have robots that resemble human beings enough and can be used as sexual partners, that's when it happens. I think that's when you see, and again, I would say it's probably the evangelicals first, because they're the ones, anyone that's wrapped up in religion seems to be very wrapped up in sex. Well, what's the difference?
Repressed sex.
Yeah, very. And when they start saying, well, that's just prostitution, because that's next, you know what I mean? So, okay, great. You don't have the money to have your own in-house robot sex bot, whatever, but you can go to the robot brothel, and you can even ahead of time.
That's going to be the spare bedroom.
It may be, you know what I mean? But in the beginning, obviously cost prohibitive. You're not going to get the guy who works in, the field all day long, being able to afford his own house, much less a spare bedroom for his sex bot, But I do think that what you're going to see is you're going to see the automation. You're going to see more robots doing those menial and dangerous tasks. And at some point, two things will happen. First thing that will happen is it will become an issue of robotic rights or AI rights. And it will be a situation of, well, that poor robot has no choice. They're assembled with the idea that they're meant to be a prostitute. And I got to be honest with you, I think that that's ridiculous. But I do see that as a possible argument. But I also see as ridiculous prostitution being illegal. And not because I don't understand that there's human trafficking, and not because I think any of that is good, and not because I would want, my mom or my sister to be a prostitute, or, well, I would be okay if you were a prostitute, but that's because I know you keep your head on you. You wouldn't take any dirty dick. So,
if I wash my penis, will you suck on it? No. You dirty cocksucker.
So, like, I could see that becoming an issue, where you have these robotic brothels, and that being a problem, because then people be like, well, if you can just go get some robot pussy, why would you ever get married? It could create tensions within societal realm. But more importantly, don't you think that those tensions are going to happen anyway? Because you're going to see a drop. And again, I think it starts with the robotics. I mean, we've already seen it started with robotics. You see that in assembly lines, robotics, taking jobs away from people that used to do those jobs, whether it's painting, a car or a chassis or whatever, or assembly or welding. So you already see these jobs being taken over by robots. But as that becomes the warehouse worker losing their job, as the AI comes in and that's the lawyer or the doctor losing that job, or the nurse, and you start to see the people who are working in, nursing homes being replaced more and more by robotics, which I think will happen very quickly. I think it then
you're going to have two safe, right off the bat, two safe jobs for people, which is going to be cooking food, so you can taste stuff. I don't know how advanced a robot would have to be to perfect a recipe. And two, sex bot cleanup.
Well, yeah, sex bot cleanup would probably be a big industry. What in the fuck did you do to this one? You tore it up.
What, 37? You got to clean yourself up. Let me get somebody to do that. Damn, you're a mess.
But beyond that, though, I do think that it comes to a point where it's like, okay, we get to the point where we don't have to do our own grocery shopping. We don't have to do our own cooking if we don't want to. We don't have to clean up the house. We don't have to, do laundry. We don't have to. How many things that are just inconveniences in life? Dusting, sweeping, vacuuming. How many of those things will be pulled out of the purview of having to be done by somebody in the house because you have a piece of equipment that will do it for you? So at some point,
with dust, if you have a very good HEPA filter on a air machine, it'll Well, most of the dust, you know what dust actually is?
It's the dust mites, dead carcasses, isn't it?
No,
What is it?
it's dead skin
Oh,
from
dead.
humans.
Okay, yeah.
So with dust, think about that the next time oh, look how dusty this is. You're wiping dead skin onto your fingers.
Yeah. Well.
Um, but if you have a good, air filtration,
Well. All right. So even at
think of
that point, all right. So now robotics have taken over air filtration,
my
right? I don't
filtration
have to.
system just told me I need to wash my ass.
Well, I mean, like you do get to a point, I think, where you don't have much purpose.
I just walked by the mirror and it said, "Pu, I stink." Damn it!
But you know what I mean? Like at some point, what are we creating our way out of purpose? And I don't mean existence. I mean purpose. Because I think everyone, no matter how laid back you want your life to be, you do need some purpose. And that purpose could be your
Well,
hobby. That purpose could be your passion. And maybe that's a good thing that these things take over all of the mundane bullshit to free
comes
up the
down
time.
do you know the purpose of life, the meaning of life?
No,
Because I do.
oh, well, lay it
The,
on me.
the meaning of life is to live, experience. And I think if you had enough AI robots doing stuff, the gatekeepers will be automatically removed and people will be able to go out and experience things that they've always wanted to. So remember that, whoever's listening, the meaning of life is to live. It's just that, just to live.
You know what? That's a perfect place to leave it. That's a perfect place to leave it. That's a very, very hopeful thought. Is the meaning of life is to live it. Now, whether or not you would be able to afford to live it because robots and AI have taken over everything, it might be a different story. But I do
As long
think,
as we don't end up in human zoos.
well, again, that's to be determined, I think. But I do think that idea of how wonderful would life be if you didn't have to worry about maintaining your domicile. You know, you didn't have to worry about doing your laundry. You didn't have to worry about doing the dishes. You didn't have to worry about going to the grocery store. You didn't have to worry about any of that. You know, making the bed, folding the clean clothes, all
Wait. Somebody has to make a bed.
that.
What? Too busy living.
But I think you're right. I think that if there's an upside to it, that's probably it. Is life is just for living. So with all of that in mind, that entire conversation, I take you back to the original question. If you could be digitally uploaded, your consciousness, would you?
Yes.
I'm still a fucking hard no, man. I'm still a
Really?
hard, yeah, I'm a hard no.
I'm enjoying the ride. I want to see where everything goes.
Oh, don't get me wrong, I do too. I just think that
You got to watch the show Upload.
I have not watched Upload, but I will. I am of the opinion that until I was confident, and this would be my, like, I won't say yes until I know this. I would want to know that I could be autonomous. I would want to know that I could.
I think that would be important.
Yeah, because if I'm just stuck in the machine, then and waiting for, like I said, if you have to wait for somebody to come and you use their username and password to unlock you, that, and you're just living as a virtual you inside of a computer, you can keep that. I'm not interested.
Well, if it's more like a holodeck on, Star Trek, where you're in a virtual house doing whatever you want with full access to the internet, yeah, sign me up.
Well, that would be providing that continued and that you weren't being turned on and turned off like a light switch.
Would you know that, though?
I don't know that you would know that, but I would assume that there would be some sort of, where did this all come from? Because last time where I left this was I was standing next to a pool grilling burgers. and now,
Well,
I'm in, this circumstance, whatever that may be.
in the World of Warcraft, the servers go down every week, once a week on Tuesdays for an hour for update. I would be all right with that.
But you're also under the impression, and this goes to simulation theory, you're under the impression that you're an active player, not an NPC. You know what I mean? So, like, if you're an NPC, well, whether it goes down for an hour or not doesn't matter. But if you're an actual player and you're in limbo, blackness, complete and utter free fall for that hour, you might be a little bit pissed off if every week you had to go through some sort of terrifying, like, oh, system's down, and everyone that's actually a player feels like they're falling eternally in nothing but blackness with no idea if they're ever going to hit anything. Yeah, you might find that to be a bit unnerving.
But it would be like before you're born, you wouldn't know.
But if you do know, and that's my point, is like, in order to sign up for the potential of eternity and living forever, I would really want to know, like, what the limitations of that were. I would want to know as much as possible ahead of time. I would want to know what kind, like, I would want to know, like, do I have full access? Am I just wrong? Because at that point, aren't you AI?
Maybe that's where AI is going. Half machine, half human.
Okay, you just gave me nightmares for a week. On that note, we went from a positive closing note to life is just the meaning of life is living.
That's what's going to happen. We're going to have robotic brains.
Well, yeah. With Neuralink, I think you're not too far off. I think that where we're going is and that's why I think that question even is more important to ask, because we are becoming much more integrated with our electronics, and at some point, I think you will have to have some sort of technical implant in order to be marketable.
Yeah, it'll be like a flash drive in your brain.
Yeah, I mean, I think
you won't have to go to school because you'll automatically know everything.
Well, I think that there will be some of that, but I don't know how quickly that comes. I think you would maybe, just like in the Matrix, be able to plug in and then have access to everything that quickly. But whether or not you would be able to do that, like, I don't know that I want a Bluetooth setup in my fucking noggin. But if that means that I don't have gainful employment, if that means that I can't provide, if that means that I can't, sustain myself, if that's the choice, you're either part of the machine or you're not, well, I'm probably going to lean more into it. But I really will have a lot of questions as far as, like, what the potentials of upgrades are, because no matter what point that is, I know I'm not getting the latest and greatest. I'm just getting the latest and greatest that they're allowing on the market. So where is this going from there? So.
Alrighty.
Well, with that, life is for living.
Correct. It's the meaning of life.
That's the meaning of life. It's meant for living. Try to enjoy yourself. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy your family. Enjoy any company you can. Get up every day and try to do better. And with that,
enjoy your sex bot.
Oh, enjoy your sex bot too. And with that, this is Elsie's Little Pickles, and we are gone.